Welcome to another edition of It's All Relative. I'm Josh.
I'm Sarah.
And today we'll be discussing a list of murders that has stretched between multiple states and a 20-year time period. Hundreds of bodies have been pulled from local waterways who turn out to be missing college-age men. Their cases have all been determined as accidental drownings, but 3 men claim to have proof that these deaths are all related. By the end of this episode, you, the listener, are going to have to decide. Is the Smiley Face killer or killers real, or is it just simply a theory? So you guys already know what to do. Turn it up and get ready for an all-new episode right here on the It's All Relative podcast. We hope everyone is doing well since our last show, and if you felt like you've been knocked down this week, just a simple reminder to pick that head up and take that first step forward on getting back up. But Sarah, what's new with you?
Not too much, although I will say, just listening to the introduction, I was totally unaware it was across like 20 years, so
yes.
Damn.
Yeah, crazy. Our story is still technically ongoing. It's
yeah.
So, and like I said, we'll get into it, but it's
of course, yes.
It's a wild it's a wild story. But
all right. Yeah, no, I mean nothing new, just same old shit, working, all that good stuff. I'm enjoying the cooler weather that we're having. It's getting me very excited for fall. I'm that bitch that's already like, ooh, Halloween decorations are out. I see Halloween candy are on the shelves, you know? So
yeah,
seasonal sections are getting some new stuff, and I'm excited about it.
I've seen quite a few people actually excited about fall time and Halloween.
Yeah.
And it's coming. You know, for me this week, I felt like I should just put it out there, and we'll see what happens in the future. But little wild. But this past week, I was in talks with someone, and you know, I don't have too many ideas towards it, but here's my plan, right? I'm an art creator or a creator of art, what have you, and I've decided somehow I'm going to make a short film or a documentary.
About what?
That I'm not 100% sure about yet. But I'm getting the details and the right people around it and the idea, and I'm going to see, like in the future, we're coming up with some ideas. And I'm gonna get the right team together.
All right, shit.
To do it, yeah. But I'm
here for it.
Nah, no doubt.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. So yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. Who knows where it's gonna go in the future? But been in some talks.
That's the fun part.
Trying to put something together. But
you never know.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I guess we should just quickly mention. You know, we lost one of America's sweethearts this past week.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, Olivia Newton-John.
Rest in peace.
Sandy.
I know.
Very, very sad. It affected many people. Many people are fans of Grease. I myself am a big fan of Grease, the movie.
Yes, me as well. For as long as I can remember, probably since like 7th grade, I think, is when I really got into Grease.
Awesome.
Like on repeat.
Yeah, historic movie.
I've got the soundtrack in my playlist as we speak. Like it's
awesome. But yeah, I mean, super sad.
Absolutely, you know.
But Sarah, you want to hit us with the fact of the week?
Well, I had a different one in mind, but just because we just brought it up, honestly, we can just talk about just how much I fucking love Halloween. It is like my favorite time of year. Everything fall, just like even the colors, you know, we live in a very beautiful part of New York where the trees, it might only be for a day or two, maybe 3 if you're lucky, but everything just gets so beautiful and just nice and cool. And, you know, I like the summer. I do. I'm not trying to rush anything, but I just like the decor. I like how it's like, I want to say edgy, but like just dark and like moody type of shit. I just love it all.
Right. If you had to pick, what's your favorite thing then about Halloween?
Honestly, I would have to say one of my favorite things to see every year is what all of the like people who are big into baking and they do like all the different designs and like just seeing how artists interpret Halloween through their art each year. And you know, with social media, TikTok, Instagram, all these different outlets, you see so many different styles of art come out, and I just love seeing all of that, honestly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's cool. Yeah. Come Halloween time, we always like to do something kind of, you know, in that spooky genre or whatnot for the show and whatnot. So come Halloween time, or the month of Halloween, or in October, we'll have to get some good ideas together for some shows. But you ready to talk about the Smiley Face killer?
Yeah, actually, I'm super excited to hear everything that you've got here for, you know, the viewers or the listeners who can't view what I'm looking at. He's got a small novel here of information.
Yeah. Now, I want to tell you and the listeners that that this story gets super wild at times. Okay. The first time I heard about this story, I didn't know how to feel because there were so many different emotions that I had felt when trying to piece it all together. So, Sarah, at any time during this, feel free to jump in if you have any questions or whatnot, because like I said, at times this story, it's like a roller coaster. All right. So, let's go.
All right. Let's do it.
So let's go back to 1997. Okay.
Yep.
Patrick McNeil is a junior at Fordham University in the Bronx, and he goes missing. Okay. Now, his friends tell police that they were all at the Dapper Dog Bar, which is located in Manhattan. And, you know, they were out doing their thing, you know, drinking, having a good time. Around 12 a.m., Patrick gets a little sick. Ends up going to the bathroom and throwing up.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. He then comes back and tells his friends that, you know, he's going to head back to campus and call it a night.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of his female friends said that she would go with him, but she had to use the bathroom first.
Right.
Okay. Now, this is when his friends think that Patrick decides to go wait outside and get some fresh air while his female friend is using the bathroom. Okay, but none of Patrick's friends ever remember seeing him leave the bar.
Right.
Okay. So when his female friend comes out of the bathroom, she can't find him anywhere. You know, she's looking inside, outside, nothing. And neither can any of his other friends. So police detective Kevin Gannon is told by witnesses that Patrick was outside at this time and started to walk away from the bar. And once again, these were just witnesses, none of his friends.
Right,
okay.
Yeah.
But then they also mentioned that Patrick was being followed by a man and a woman who were sitting in a car parked outside the bar. Now, a search is started. It goes throughout the month of February, March. Patrick
Nowhere to be
is
found.
missing. Correct. But on April 7th, a body is discovered floating face up in the East River off the 69th Pier in Brooklyn. Now, this automatically makes Kevin curious, okay, for a few reasons. One being that people who typically drown are always face down.
Yeah. Yep.
And not face up. When Patrick's body, is discovered, he's wearing the same clothes as when he disappeared. And his body has no signs of injury. Okay? So an autopsy is done, comes back and says that the cause of death was drowning and that the body was in the water since the time of the disappearance. Okay, so the night he went missing, I guess he was in the water from then until the time he was found. But the report did state that the manner of death is undetermined. Okay, so which is a little confusing because it's not an accident and it's not a homicide, right? So
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So now Detective Kevin Gannon thinks that Patrick was drugged by GHB, okay, which is a date rape drug. Okay, and this is just Kevin's theory, okay? But he also thinks that something doesn't make sense with the condition of the body when it was found. If the body was in the water the whole time while missing, the decomposition rate then doesn't match.
Right.
Okay?
I was gonna say they probably wouldn't have much to find at all.
Yes, and that's what that's where
point.
Kevin's going with this. He says that the skin on Patrick's feet didn't have the correct slippage for a body in water for 50 days.
Right.
Okay. Now, little weird, but Sarah, are you familiar with what skin slippage is, or have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I would assume it's just a part of the decomposition process where your skin just kind of starts to essentially slide. It's just sliding off.
Right on.
It doesn't have the, what do you call it? It can't stay together anymore. It's not living.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's during decomposition, layers of skin actually slip off the body, and it usually happens though 2 or 3 days after death.
Right.
Okay, so very quite soon.
Yeah.
All these strange details though, they don't add up to Kevin, and he begins to disagree with the police reports of this just being an accidental drowning. He also wonders, how did Patrick end up in the river, okay, in the first place? And how had his body traveled 12 miles south from Manhattan all the way to the pier in Brooklyn? Okay?
Right.
Now, the bar that they were at was not located by the water. It wasn't very easy. There was no easy access to get to the water. It's not like you could exit the bar and then cross the street and the water's right there.
Right.
You actually would have to, I had seen a report saying, that they, from the bar, it was very difficult. You'd have to climb a fence. You'd have to walk.
You'd have to know what you were doing.
Yeah,
and where you were going.
Not easily accessible.
Especially if you're, if you're drugged or drunk, it's not going to be
right. Which some of the people have claimed and said, well, maybe he had to pee, so then he went to the water to go do his thing. But then once again, if
it's
you
getting
are
to the water.
Exactly, and if you've been drinking that much, and you would not go through the hassle just to, you would go right outside. And
yeah, no, you're not giving a shit,
thing.
and I think we can all attest to that. When you're drunk, when you gotta pee, you gotta fucking pee. Like that's not. You're not picking and choosing.
Yeah, right. You're not going through all that trouble.
No,
just
absolutely not.
to do that. But even with all these questions, Patrick's death is ultimately ruled an accidental drowning, and the case is closed. You agree with that assessment?
No, not at all.
So let's move on then. 15 months later, all right, 2 more men disappear and turn up drowned in the East River under very similar circumstances to Patrick's. Now, Kevin Gannon did not work the cases of these 2 men, okay, but he heard about them and knew that similarities were undeniable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So in 2001, Kevin Gannon retires, okay, and starts to work on these drowning cases on his downtime. All right. He recruits his former partner, retired NYPD detective Anthony Duarte, to help, and over the years, they believe they are connecting the dots to something big. During their investigations, they find more and more cases of young men who went missing and then are reported as accidental drownings. But not just on the East Coast, but stretching all the way to the Midwest, all fitting a specific profile. College-aged white or Asian men, all well-liked, athletic bodies, did well in school, all ending with the same fate. Now, Kevin and Anthony are convinced they are onto something, but little did they know, someone else was doing their own research in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Okay?
Yep.
A professor of St. Cloud University, Douglas Lee Gilbertson, is making his own conclusions as well. In 2006, similar cases like Patrick's were happening, I guess, in Minnesota. And the professor took interest in it, you know what I'm saying? And he started looking into them. Now, he was finding that college-age men were disappearing and that their bodies were being found face up in bodies of water. A body that was discovered in '02, okay, it was floating face up like all the others, but this time the person's arms were folded on his chest. All right, pretty much like it was staged.
Right, like, and I don't even understand how that was still face like this.
Yeah,
like across the chest. That's wild.
Yeah, like the
buoyancy. That's not how buoyancy works.
like we were talking about before, but like the vampire cross thing.
Yeah. Like imagine a vampire sleeping in a coffin, you know.
Yeah. Which not doesn't seem like someone would if someone were to drown. The
bodies are meant to be found. Like is essentially what that means.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, it was concluded still as an accidental drowning. Now, once again, I find it very hard to believe that someone would fall into the water and drown and then be
conveniently like that. Like no,
with their arms crossed, right?
Like I said, that's just ignorant to think that that's an accident.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
But then a 21-year-old named Scott Rydell, who was a student at the very university that the professor worked at, goes missing on February 1st of 2006. His body is then discovered a month later on March 1st in the Mississippi River. Now, the professor goes on and continues to do all his research on all these cases, and he ends up finding 22 more cases that stretch from Minnesota to Ohio.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, all with the same similarities. College-age men who end up in bodies of water and are reported as victims of drowning.
Yeah.
Now, he believes these were not accidents, okay, and that somehow they're all connected. He said that it's statistically impossible for all these drownings to be so similar in so many ways and to be unconnected.
Right.
Which
I would agree with that.
Okay, good. I was gonna ask, and I too at this point, very valid conclusion, because I mean, you can't argue with the numbers, right?
Yeah, because you can't argue with the numbers, and like it's one thing if two people in the one state, Kevin and I forget his partner that he ended up recruiting, who was also retired, but
Anthony.
You know, it's one thing for them, but then when someone totally that is unconnected to them in another state has the same idea that, okay, these could all be connected, that's also like, you know, the three minds going into one. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, at this point, too, yes, we know that Kevin and Anthony are doing their thing in New York, and Professor's doing his thing in Minnesota.
Right.
As of now, they do not know of each other yet.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Is like the fact that they don't know each other and they're doing the same, you know, making the same conclusions and connecting the same dots that says something.
Yeah. Right? Which is still strange. I mean, I agree. And police, though, you know, on both sides, like the police in New York and whatnot, didn't agree or just chose not to. Just to chalk it up to the accidental drownings, and same with Minnesota police. Because
unfortunately, I think some of them probably just looked at it as another big city death. You know, it's just another person in the city who passed, and they don't really.
Yeah, or I mean, it's very believable. I mean, it's not like college age kids or men go out drinking. Yeah. They get drunk, right? So, and I mean, sometimes when you get drunk, you do stupid shit.
of course.
You could, if you were by bodies of water,
Yeah,
you could
shit gets sketchy.
you could do something or, have an accident and end up falling in.
Yeah.
Okay, but so many cases, all the same thing.
Yeah, and the face up and everything.
So many things point to
calculated and
other
yeah.
But like we said, even though the professor believes all this, right? The police in Minnesota don't agree. They say that there's still no hard evidence and that all these cases of drownings are just terrible tragedies.
Seems like an easy way out.
Yeah. Well, Kevin and Anthony, like we had said, they're still at this time still in New York.
Yep.
Okay. Somehow they end up hearing about Professor Lee and Minnesota, and I guess what was kind of going on out there, and they decide to go to the professor.
Mm-hmm.
Where they they pretty much ambush him at the university.
Happens.
And that's how they all met.
Right.
It was just kind of like a quick ambush thing, but
random.
But they're able to sit down and compare their research, and when they do that, they're shocked to see how similar everything is.
Mm-hmm. All
right. They decide to link up and investigate more cases across the eastern half of the country. By 2008, they are 100% convinced that they have discovered a serial killer or killers that are responsible for the deaths of 40 men across 11 states.
So 2008, this is at least 7 years in the making with this investigation since the time that he retired and went from there. Damn. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But let's go back to those numbers. I mean, that shit is wild. 40 deaths, right?
Yeah.
Which is a big number of deaths, but that cross and are all connected or linked up or intertwined, what have you, through 11 states.
Yeah.
That's
a lot.
Pretty crazy for a serial killer.
And it's very concerning that not more law enforcement was questioning that and like doing more research. They have access to know all of this information. They just didn't even think to dive deeper when, pun not intended, drowning. Sorry.
Right.
And, or, just get more information and just see how they're all connected. Like that's eventually you've got to recognize a pattern or quote unquote a trend that's happening. Like,
right. But getting back to the fact, the cops and whatnot just keep thinking and agreeing that they're all just accidental drownings, drunk men, being drunk college age men and ended up drowning. But like I said too, it's just like you were talking about the connection of so many of just being so like so many similarities. It makes you have to think and wonder why or how. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kevin, Anthony, and Professor Lee, right? They know that the inconsistent decomposition timelines are off, okay, on these cases, and that weird body recovery locations of the victims. All these things factor into, why they agree that the original analysis of all these victims' deaths are not drownings.
Right.
The similarities all point to this conspiracy or theory that they are saying. They believe that this could be the work of groups of killers, okay, who are working together in major cities to choose and kill these men. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, they also believe the killers are using GHB to drug their victims, which helps them become easier to deal with or more compliant.
Right.
Yep. And then abduct them and make their deaths look like drowning accidents after a night out at the bars.
Yeah.
very valid theory so far, right?
Yeah, I would say so, but I already think that I don't really have a theory as to what it is, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm. They're rough. They're rough outlines so far.
Yeah.
Though I could see, people. They think a group of people are drugging people, which is
I definitely
valid,
don't think they're moving state to state to state like one person doing it. That's just no. That's
a little hard to believe.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, though, they think they know what the killer or killers is leaving behind as a signature. Okay. Before we get into that, let's take a quick break.
All right. Yes.
And when we come back, we'll continue with this story as these three men try and continue to prove that all these drownings are connected with the proof to back it up, as well as our final thoughts about this theory. You guys don't want to miss it, so make sure you come back with us right here on the It's All Relative podcast.
Shit's the same now, explode next mode. I'm the same how. Don't say you know me, just say you did. When you see me sliding off to another crib, boom in the game now. I'm the same how. The rap game will never be the same now. Don't say you know me, just say you did. When you hear YO, say that's that shit.
Welcome back to It's All Relative. So, as of where we are at now, Sarah, which way are you leaning? Are you leaning towards all accidental drownings, or these men are being targeted and being made to look as if they were accidental drownings?
I think they're being targeted.
Targeted? Okay. Well, before we went on break, we had mentioned real quick that the killer or killers are believed to be leaving a signature behind, okay? Kevin, Anthony, and Professor Lee, they all say that the killer is using a smiley face, okay? And that it is always spray painted nearby where the bodies are being found. Now, do you think that this is a little interesting, Sarah? A killer leaving behind a calling card or a sign?
No, I think that's really common, especially with serial killers, for them to do that, to leave some type of signature or take something with them that belonged to the victim, something like that. That's pretty common. But, I mean, the smiley face is a little odd.
Unique, right?
Yep.
Definitely intriguing. Definitely catches your attention.
That's a very taunting thing that people do to mess with law enforcement. You know,
it is, right? As you mentioned before, too, serial killers. We often hear about that, about leaving some kind of signature behind to kind of toy with law enforcement.
Yep.
But now is where the theory begins to stretch, or at least for me, okay?
All right, yeah.
They say that the smiley face has only been located at some of the sites, okay? They also aren't all the same, all right? So some of these smiley faces, they have lines for eyes. Others have circles or dots, you know? Other smiley faces were full circle smiley faces.
Others didn't have them. Right.
So there's no consistent tag. You know what I'm saying? But so that makes me a little skeptical, right? Or it may make many people skeptical.
Right, because a smiley face is a very common thing. And, even like I told you, I didn't know pretty much anything about this theory, but what I did read was that they were doing that, and I immediately said out loud, I was like, I just draw smiley faces all the time, anywhere, there's dusty stock windshields at my job, and I just draw a smiley face on them. Why not? So yeah, that it is a little,
it's different.
Yeah.
But to Kevin, Anthony, and the professor, they don't mind that people may think that that it's not really
That it's
valid because
a
they're
stretch,
different,
yeah.
right? They think that the fact that they're all different, it shows that there are even more, or that there's groups of killers.
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
that thought did cross my mind too. That it's like whatever group does it, it depends on the smiley face, or like everyone is a little bit different to specifically throw them off and think that it's not what it is.
Facts.
Yeah.
That's very valid. And like I said, it is. It's a common calling card, I guess, right? But it doesn't have to be exact, but it's
Right.
still the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But they're convinced, at this point, that they decide to go public
Yeah.
with this theory, okay? So on April 29th, 2008, a press conference is held in New York, and they present the smiley face killer theory to the world. All right? They say they have evidence that links and proves 40 drowning cases in 25 cities, 11 different states, and they aren't accidents, but they're murders at the hands of the smiley face killer. Now, Sarah, what do you think that the world's response was when they came out with this theory?
I think a lot of people are probably very intrigued by it and wanted answers, especially if any families of the victims got any wind of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Family members for sure. But besides the close, immediate people who were affected by losing these people, the rest of the world, they didn't really care, or they didn't believe.
And that's also alarming.
Mhm, right? But I mean, they didn't believe that these men were, killed. That they just think that, along with law enforcement, they believe that they were just all accidental drownings.
Right, from just being drunk.
Right. But the three men were ready, okay, for the non-believers, and they say they have proof that these were murders, and they're going back to 1997, where it all started with Patrick McNeil. 2009, they go on CNN and show photos of Patrick McNeil's autopsy. All right. And the autopsy shows burns and ligature marks on his neck, suggesting he may have been strangled.
Right.
All right. They also found fly eggs that were laid around his groin area.
Right. So he had, yeah.
Okay. Now, this is indoor house fly eggs and larvae, right? And that is weird in itself.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be on a body if it was in the water for 2 months.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
So, and it also shows that the body was kept warm enough for these flies, whatever,
To create a
hatch.
habitat in there, yeah.
Right. And then the body was placed in the river.
Right.
Right. Super weird.
Yeah.
I think those are clear signs of
Foul play
homicide
somewhere,
or
yeah.
But it is later found out that there was no smiley face anywhere when they recovered Patrick's body, though. All right. We also learned that out of the 40 deaths, there were only 22 smiley faces found. All right. So it's just over 50%.
Right.
So earlier we had said, the numbers don't lie, but I mean, what do you think, Sarah? 22 out of the 40 bodies.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you really look at all of the similarities between everything, the smiley face is kind of a small feature amongst it all. So, I mean, I think it's to each their own then, that one. It could very well be a coincidence. It could be something that is still establishing, with the tags that they're leaving.
Right. But I mean, it is a big, huge part of the initial theory, because these three men are trying to prove and say that there is a group of these smiley face killers who are killing these men and leaving their little signature tag, which makes and made all sense, right? But then again, now a little over 50% of the body.
Maybe it's something like I don't know, like different. They only do it for certain people that they kill for some reason or another.
Maybe that's
Something like that. Like,
that's
I don't
actually-
really want to get into detail about what that could mean, but
Right.
like, you know, maybe they did something with that person, didn't do something with another. Maybe they drugged this person, didn't, you know,
Right,
something
right.
like that. So,
right.
no, I still support their theory 100%. It's just the smiley
Okay.
face is a little.
Very valid. Kevin, though, tells reporters that the smiley face is only one signature that is used.
Right.
Okay. He goes on to say, though, that there could be 12 others.
Yeah.
So once again, now I feel like we're starting to stretch a little more. Like I could get on board with the smiley faces, right,
Yep,
as the
yep.
tag thing, but to now say that there's 12 other possible, you know, tag marks and whatnot, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
That's,
I don't know. Like you said, numbers don't lie.
yeah. But also in Kevin's original theory, remember, he had said that GHB was being used with all the victims. Okay.
Yep.
And remember GHB being the date rape drug.
Yes.
But only 30 of the 40 bodies had it in their system.
30 of the 40. Okay.
Yeah. So still not 100%. And I mean, if this killer if this is his method of using this drug and then to abduct these men.
You also, I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
you're
like
good.
if it's across so many states, I would imagine each of them have a different quote unquote killing style or something that they do or don't like to do. So I mean,
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, okay, let me ask you then real quick. The theory we're still up in the air about, but do you think that it's one killer or killers? It's a group of killers.
definitely killers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, with this report of Kevin saying 30 out of the 40 only had the GHB, I can understand why people aren't believing these guys, you know, and why authorities are keeping all the cases as just victims of drowning.
Right.
Their theory is intriguing, but still, it's just a theory as of this point, right?
Yes.
But in 2009, a Boston man named William Hurley, he goes missing after attending a Boston Bruins hockey game at TD Gardens. His body is later discovered in the Charles River, and medical examiners find GHB in his system.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now that's a little weird. Let's talk on that a little bit. So we had mentioned GHB, a date rape drug, right?
Yes.
Usually, people out in you know, bars and whatnot, that's where, you know, it may take place at. Now it's a little weird, right? I mean, for me, I don't understand why GHB would be in this man's system while he's at a sporting event.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's-
you don't take that as a recreational drug.
No,
know what
that's
I'm
not
saying?
like, yeah, it's definitely nothing you take voluntarily, I feel.
Right, and it's not like he was out at a party or a rave or what have you, anything like that. He was at a hockey game.
Right.
Red flags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So, also, which was a little weird, is that when his body is discovered, a smiley face was nearby.
Mhm.
Weird, right? And
Yep.
this is now we're a few years.
I was about to say, I'm sorry, when was that?
This was 2009.
Right.
So, but still, police and the public don't believe the theory, and they still just move on.
Yeah.
Okay. None of these cases that Kevin, Anthony, and the professor that you know, the cases that they pushed, they never got reopened.
Right.
All right. And since then, many groups have tried to publicly disprove this theory. All right. I can see, like I said, there are some holes and gaps in this theory, but some of these bullet points to use to disprove the theory. Let me ask you, do you agree? They mentioned time order. Okay, meaning that when these bodies were found or located in the water, the smiley faces that they had seen,
Right.
Some looked very new,
Yeah.
and others looked very weathered and old and just not
fresh.
right.
Yeah.
So they tried to use this as proof that that this whole smiley face thing is not a tag and whatnot. What do you feel about that?
I think that would go like a lot into like you would also have to look at whatever like let's say you find a smiley face near one of the bodies that looks like it's been there for a while, old, beat up, whatever. I think that my first thing would be like, okay, well, what does the condition of the body look like? How long has the body been in there before anybody noticed it? Has the tag been there for a week? What was the weather like? Did anybody go past and mow the grass or, maintenance over there and get mud and kick up shit over there? I think it would go into a whole lot of detail to really fully debunk stuff like that.
No, those are all very valid points. One, they did mention though too that some of these smiley faces you could tell had been there for years.
Right. Yeah.
So
and like that's what I'm saying too. Like it's a common thing.
Right.
So, like,
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say the next point that they had made is that they said that the smiley face graffiti is very popular.
Yeah.
And it's seen everywhere. Mm-hmm. Which before I cut you off, I feel like you were about to say.
Yeah,
right?
No, I was just about to say that I think that they have a theory going on, but I don't think that you can necessarily chalk it up to the smiley face. Like, I don't think that that's the main kind of thing they need to be. I know that's how they want to portray it, but you don't always need a catchy head. Like, I feel like they're a little too focused on, like, the catchy headline that it would be as opposed to what's actually happening.
Right. Well, the people who are trying to disprove this theory, they simply state that they think that all these smiley faces and whatnot, they feel like it's just all a coincidence that they happen to be there. It's
right.
We chalk it up to a coincidence.
But it is a lot of people to be drowning. Like, that's what I'm saying. There's a theory there. It's just...
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The last main point that stood out was that they had said that it's very rare for serial killers to drown their victims. Mm-hmm. And I thought about that too. And that's very, very valid because I don't think I've ever heard of a serial killer that their method of choice or whatnot is to drown their victims. Do you find that interesting, different?
It's definitely different, but in the case like with Patrick, you saying that he has the marks around his neck and whatnot, and the maggots living inside of him or whatever they were, it's like drowning wasn't the cause. Like, he obviously was somewhere before that. Like, that's where he was found, sure. And in that time he was in the water, his lungs fucking filled with water. Right. Looked like he drowned, but I don't know. I think it was a lot of shit was looked past.
Over.
Looked over.
Yep. So by 2012, the smiley face killer theory is almost an afterthought. All right. It was just too hard to believe. People just did not get on board with these three men who pushed so hard. But as always with conspiracies, they're never forgotten.
Right. Yeah. Right? Someone always remembers them.
Right. And more people look into them, and different ones sometimes get more traction, and people begin to dig again.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, theory, conspiracy, what have you, but a strange fact is that even currently today, young college-age men, they keep disappearing under the same circumstances.
Right.
They're last seen at bars with friends, and then they end up drowned and found in a body of water.
Right.
And some
quote unquote drowned.
right. Some are
some, I'm sure.
Some are still with smiley faces nearby, and some of them who have GHB in their systems.
Yeah.
Makes you think, right? I mean, there's just too many, right?
There's definitely got to be some common thread. But it's a lot of threads, and I think that that's kind of why it hasn't been investigated to its fullest extent. Like, you know.
Yeah. So on January 25th, 2017, this is now almost 20 years to the day when Patrick McNeil went missing in New York City. A man named Dakota James, who's 23 years old, goes missing in Pittsburgh. Okay?
Yep.
So this happened, almost 20 years since Patrick McNeil. Okay? Now, Dakota was last seen alive on video surveillance footage at 11:49 p.m. that evening. Okay? 40 days later, his body is found floating in the Ohio River. Now, police believe he fell into the water and traveled 10 miles downriver and ruled it an accidental drowning. Which, to me, once again, is very, I don't know.
Yeah, they're
hard
awfully
to
quick
believe.
to label all that shit accidental drowning.
They are. Very quick, and I don't know, man. Like, for somebody to fall in a river and, like, to travel that far down river before I feel like that they're being placed, or that's what it seems like.
Especially like the earlier cases talking about, they were found face up, arms crossed. That's fucking weird. That's not how
weird.
human bodies work. Like,
and that is not how. Right. That's not typical how people drown.
It's not science.
Would not drown. Yeah. Well, just like us, right? Dakota's family doesn't believe this either. They don't believe that it was an accidental drowning. So they actually get in touch with Kevin, Anthony, and Professor Lee, and they ask them to take a look. And after the three men do their investigation, they believe that Dakota was a victim of the Smiley Face killer. All right. A smiley face was found, but it was 10 miles away from Dakota's, from where they found the body, right? So now, once again, like, all right, how far, though, are we gonna... It makes it, like, I want to believe. You know what I'm saying? I'm very open.
I do too. But, and now, like, I'm sitting here, like, trying to defend them. Like, well, maybe if they did do a smiley face, it just rained before they found the body and the smiley face washed away. Like, who the fuck knows? But it's just, they got to be connected somehow.
I agree. But, just this distant, to be 10 miles away, I feel like that's kind of pushing it, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to believe, but come on, give me something.
Yeah, you got to give me a little bit more than that. It's fucking 10 miles away.
I know. How far can we... like we said, that shit is popular graffiti. I would bet good money that you could probably go in... especially from where we're at. You can go in a 10-mile radius, and I guarantee you're going to see...
a smiley face somewhere, absolutely.
So just when it seems just too ridiculous, right? When the three men were investigating Dakota's case, they found some shocking findings, though. All right? The first one. Someone used Dakota's PayPal account and spent $11.99 48 hours after he vanished. All right? So if the theory of the cops and everyone is that he fell into the water that evening and the night that he disappeared, then how is his account being used 48 hours after?
Right. Unless, like, it depends. Like, we would have to know what it was for, because, like, automatic pulls will just do it. They don't know that you're dead. Like Apple Pay per se. But I know at the time, but still.
Yeah, this was before Apple Pay.
Yeah. Oops, born in 2000. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you good. But definitely, right? Like, okay, something to kind of
Yeah,
wonder
I mean,
about.
it's yeah, like I said, you'd have to know like what it was at. Was it at a gas station? Was it, you know?
Right, but just the fact, right, that I mean, the cops say that he was dead the night he went into the water. So just the fact that somebody is spending, you know, $11.99 or whatever, what have you.
And like that's the other thing. You think they would look further into that, figure out the location he was at, see if that location has cameras, and then go from fucking there.
True, very true. The second interesting thing the three men found was the condition of Dakota's body.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they found ligature marks on his neck, and discoloration like on his fingernails, which indicates that he was trying to escape from being strangled, like
Right.
trying to get your
He was
fingers
fighting, yeah.
under whatever is being used, which is another clear sign of
Not
foul play, not
fucking drowning.
Exactly. But the last that was reported was that a few weeks before Dakota disappeared, he had called a friend to pick him up, right? While he was out with friends, drinking and whatnot. And when Dakota called his friend said that he was crying, right? And that he was super disoriented. And he said that Dakota had said that he had lost 4 hours of time. Fucking weird.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd be super alarmed if I got a call from a friend like that. Like, I would immediately go into fucking panic mode. Like,
Right? So his friend said that when she came to pick him up, he was walking towards a strange SUV. And he was about to get in until she called his name. And then he kind of
snapped out of whatever it was.
and
yeah.
realized, like, oh shit, like my ride's here, my friend's here, right? But there's no reason for his friend to lie to authorities about this. So, I mean, this makes me think, and I'm sure, I mean, you or the listeners, whoever, but I mean, it makes you think of when Patrick McNeil was being followed the night he disappeared.
Yep. By the
Right.
man and the woman in the van.
And very similar situation, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, to me, it seems like Dakota was drugged and someone tried to abduct him a few weeks earlier before he died.
Yeah, I mean, so the one solid similarity between it all is that it's college-age guys out drinking, definitely surrounded by people. So there's likely witnesses to every single one of these drownings.
Correct.
So honestly, I'd be more curious to see the similarities between what the witnesses have to say as well, like all of them.
I agree.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, I know,
Yeah.
but like this is what I'm saying. It's they seem just so quick to brush it off as what it seems to be, and I think that that's just
wrong or strange.
It is. It's a little weird that they're not trying to entertain the idea that, you know.
No, I agree.
something's-
Once again, going back to the numbers, I feel like there's just too many.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because regardless of like the numbers that go against them, there's still good numbers that are in favor of them too, and a solid amount of similarities.
Right. You know, but even after all this, everything that the three men found, police, everybody, it was still chalked up to an accidental drowning. That's what was determined. And unfortunately, present day, these cases that Kevin Anthony and Professor Lee have tried to get reopened as homicides haven't worked. So they've all just stayed as accidental drownings. So, I mean, let's get back to it before we close up real quick, Sarah. I mean, after all this, do you think the Smiley Face killer or killers are real?
I think that there's a trend, but I don't think that you can base it all around the fact of the smiley face.
Okay.
I think they're onto something, but I think redirecting the focus from the smiley face more to the focus of all of the really specific facts and details of each case is really what's going to get them where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to kind of let go of the label that they're trying to put on it. You know,
Okay.
the smiley face is a little bit too common of a tag of a thing, you know?
Right.
Smiley faces are on fucking children's products. Like, you know, it's like, it's...
So more or less a coincidence of...
Yeah, I think the smiley faces are a coincidence, but I don't think that all the drownings and every other similarity, I don't think that's a coincidence.
All right, now let me ask you real quick then. What are your thoughts about the similarities and the fact that these incidences are still happening present day?
I think it needs to have more fucking attention drawn to it, you know, especially because where we're at, we've got a good body of water near us. Like, it's prime
Very true.
fucking territory for that shit. So, who knows? I think that it's dumb to ignore certain quote-unquote coincidences.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the phrase, there's no coincidences in life, is fucking relevant. And, yeah, no, I think that it's... I think a lot of it was brushed off.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it got brushed off and just wanted to not sweep it under the rug, because that makes it sound like, you know, law enforcement knows what happened and they hide it, and that's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's something they didn't really want to deal with, because it's a lot. It's already 40 people, and like you said, ongoing today. Who knows what the numbers are at? And
Yeah, it's a little wild. It does make it stretch, because I did see a quick report as well about like more currently to this day that the three men they've never stopped trying to prove this theory, but they have expanded. Like, their cases though went from like 40 to now I believe I saw it was like some like 300 something cases.
Jesus.
which to me, like, you know, my thoughts about this whole thing is I think the smiley face... Go ahead. You want to say something?
No, I was just about to say, it's just like, is it more of just, I don't want to say like just everyday killings, but is it everyday killings, or is it a whole network of people doing these specific killings? Like,
Right, that's the big question.
Yeah.
That's the whole theory about it. And to me, like the smiley face in itself, I think it makes the whole theory very interesting. Like I said, exciting, intriguing, like holy shit, like there's a serial killer, a group of serial killers who are leaving this tag. But to me, I think I agree with you. I think that's more so insignificant to the whole story.
Yeah.
It's not... I mean, to me, I'm even willing to believe, though, I don't know. I'm 50-50 about the whole coincidence thing, because I think it's very odd that it just happens that many times to where bodies are located and smiley faces are somewhat near.
who knows?
I mean,
Maybe the smiley face is like, you know, this man and woman in the van. They're like the fucking ringleaders, and only they leave the smiley faces. You know, whatever they kill, they do that because they're the creators per se. You know, you never fucking know.
Very true. You know, I did quickly see too. I didn't write too much about it down because I had heard it was just like one quick report about this, and I couldn't find anything else factual about it, so I didn't want to really spend too much time on it. But I will mention that I did see that I think Professor Lee had told a reporter that him, Anthony, and and Kevin have had contact with a network, the network of these people in the black web. They're communicating through the black web.
Right.
Now, he did say, I think in the report, that they were having trouble because they weren't getting too much information, because obviously they wouldn't turn their webcam on.
Right.
And everything.
Of course not.
But if that is true, it's very, very wild to think that, you know, in the underground world or whatnot,
stay off the fucking black web, people. That's not...
That this group of people are communicating and, you know, planning and hunting down these young college-age men and doing whatever they do with them, and then making them look like that they just
accidental
got
drowning.
Yeah, which is, and that's getting back to what I think about this whole theory. I do agree. I'm more along the lines to agree with the theory about that there's way too many cases, and I don't want to go into like the hundreds and whatnot, but like the ones that we talked about are very very eye-opening.
Regions. Yeah.
And just the similarities with the whole thing, it's
you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
And I feel like law enforcement has.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that there could be, it's very easy. These men are all at bars, right? There could be people who work behind the bars, who work for within this network, and they're the ones, they could be slipping, the GHB in these people's drinks.
Right.
So then they know. They get a little, it intensifies the alcohol, so you could barely have anything to drink, but feel like, you got fucking smashed.
Right, yeah.
And, maybe me as the bartender, I slipped you that, and I'm observing you, and then now I know you
give some fucking signal to someone.
And you're going to leave, and then now someone else in my group, now it's their turn. They're going to scoop you up or whatever.
Especially in present day, it's, oh, I called you an Uber. They're in this and that car. Go ahead. Go wait for them. And you're inebriated, so you're like, oh, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like, to me, like I said, too many cases for me not to be able to say that I don't believe, because
certainly a network of people. Yeah.
Right. I'm very open to a lot of this stuff, and I agree. Like I said, I agree with the theory. The whole Smiley Face as their calling card, that would be my only thing where, okay, maybe I don't agree, but a network of people who are, planning and plotting to do this shit, that I'm very, I am on board for. I can believe that.
I believe it 100%.
So, either way, that was the Smiley Face killer theory.
Yeah, guys.
We're gonna be wrapping it up soon, but Sarah, any last thoughts about this? About anything?
No, like I said, I think it's just Smiley Face theory it's just the title that's the issue. It's not so much the subject of it, because there's a trend, there's coincidences, it's something, but I just don't think that you can really label it as the Smiley Face killer theory. I don't think that that's a valid title for it. Find another catchy nickname.
So too much focus on the Smiley Face and not
the actual cases themselves and what is actually similar and coincidental.
All right. Well, we're going to be wrapping it up. So you want to hit everyone with your social, Sarah?
Yeah, definitely. My Instagram is Sarah with 2 H's _ Molnar with 2 R's, MOLNAR. And my TikTok is Sarah J. Molnar.
And you guys can always find me at Josh_Toth3. That's my Instagram. And my Facebook is Joshua Toth. Big shout out to Stellar Sound and Media and our editor, Jackson Wallace. If you guys want to get at us with ideas, thoughts, critiques, shout outs, whatever, use the message option on Anchor. Use it, hear yourself live on the next show.
Yeah, definitely. We want to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. Sarah, where can they find us at?
You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, Google, and we finally got that Twitter up and going, just about how we'd like it. So that is a social media that you guys can go ahead and follow us on as well.
Absolutely. You guys use the Twitter account. If present listeners, new listeners, if you've been on the show before and you have a Twitter handle, please follow us. Get at us on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely. So the Twitter username is IAR and then spelled out podcast with a capital P. So
use
definitely,
it.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, guys.
All right. That's a wrap. Sarah, good job.
Yes, thank you. You as well.
Thank you. right, everyone, stay safe, stay kind, stay proud and powerful, and we'll see everyone soon. Peace.